Let's click through these slides until this seems familiar. Yeah, welcome to my talk, Making Restaurants Smart. Should there a mic for the room, or is it just for? We can worry. Okay. Just okay. Everything good. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now it's good. Okay, then again, welcome to my talk about how to make restaurants smart. I'm Digitize, product owner at Nesto Software, and we provide a software for mainly restaurant chains to optimize their workforce planning. And it's a cool use case to show how it's possible to integrate the power of Gurobi into a solution that is designed for non-technical users. So it perfectly fits this whole subjects we heard about before. We have the power on the technical side, but we also need to make the users really use it in the end and improve their operational work. And why is it so interesting to use optimization in a restaurant context? I think we all know these two situations. Let's have a look at the picture on the left. We come to a restaurant we want to have dinner in, but the queue in front is very long, so we have to wait a long time outside. When we finally get seated, we wait even longer until we get the drinks, and even longer until we get the food. Maybe we consume less than we would have if it wouldn't have taken that long, and the overall guest experience is not very well. On the other side, we see a waitress that is bored because no one is in the restaurant at the moment. If you come in as a customer, you might be ignored because she's occupied with her phone, and also that's not a good guest experience on the one hand. And of course, on the other hand, as a company, you just waste money having employees there which don't have anything to do. Both of these situations could have been avoided by better labor scheduling. And the question is, why are there so many, let's call it non-optimal schedules in the gastronomy world? Labor scheduling has in the gastronomy two main issues. First thing, which kind of applies to all service contexts, is that you can't produce anything on stock. So you have to have your employees in the restaurant when the guests are there. You have to serve them when they're there. You can't really prepare something, except for some things in the kitchen, of course, but mainly the most work is to be done when the guests are here. And problem is the distribution of guests during the day is not equal, but mostly shows two peaks during lunchtime and during dinner time. And this makes it harder to find shifts which optimally cover the theoretical employee demand. This theoretical employee demand or perfect allocation is here indicated by the blue line. And yeah, as I already stated, we see these two peaks there. In practice, we often observe schedules that lead to an allocation that looks like this red dotted line. So it kind of follows the shape of the perfect allocation, but as you can see, it doesn't fit it perfectly at all. So we have these times of so-called overstaffing, where we have too many employees for the number of guests. That refers to the second picture we had a look at, and of course the peak times where we have understaffing, and in these peak times we have stressed employees and a bad guest experience. So there are many reasons to strive for better schedules, because not only the guests and the employees are dissatisfied, also the CEO and the manager is not happy because we'll waste a lot of profit there. But what makes it so hard to write optimal schedules for our customers? At the moment, they do it manually. Mostly, a restaurant manager has to do it, and the problem. Well, there are several problems. One problem is that the restaurant manager doesn't really know in advance what the perfect allocation will look like. He doesn't really know the employee demand in advance, so there's a lot of uncertainty about the future demand. two more things are that there are many legal restrictions and also employee preferences to consider during the solution. So you have multiple objectives that have to be balanced in the end. And even though our restaurant manager, Joe, spends more than 10 hours a week for manual staff planning, this only results in these non-optimal schedules. And so he would like to save this time, because he also has to focus on the economic success and his guests and his employees. And he's not really capable of doing all these things in a good way in the end. So we need an automated solution for that. And this is what we offer to our customers. Here we are. We broke it down to a 3-step approach. First thing is a forecast of the workload. So we try to forecast how many guests will be in the restaurant based on things like what day of week is it, how is the weather forecasted, and are there holidays or not, and what were the historic patterns of the number of guests. And based on this forecast of this employee demand forecast, we use a so-called shift generation algorithm to generate AI-based, we call it shift shells. A shift shell is a shift with a start time, an end time, but no employee is assigned yet. So this gives us kind of the framework of shifts during the day. And of course, we try to fit these shift shells perfectly to the forecasted demand, but we also try to comply to legal regulations, like, for example, the break law, the maximum shift length, and we also consider the staff structure of a restaurant, because it's the perfect number of shifts depends on what staff do you have in the end. Do you need many short shifts? Do you need fewer but longer shifts? This kind of is caused, or the optimal way to do so is influenced by the staff structure of a restaurant. And the very last step is the assignment of employees. So we assign employees to these shifts then. Again, we have to consider some legal regulations, for example, maximum working hours per day, rest periods, and so on. But we can now also focus on the preferences of the employees. They can, for example, decide if they rather work in the morning or rather in the afternoon. And we consider the employees' skill levels and their competencies in the end. And this whole process in each of these steps is powered by machine learning, but also by mathematical optimization, and thus by Gurobi. And to make it a bit more practical, I will give you a glimpse into our product. In our example, we want to plan, or we want to write a labor schedule for the month of November. If this would be done manually, it would take more than 1 day. Using Nesto, it's far quicker, but still we can't do everything from scratch. So we prepared the first 2 steps. So we have a forecast of the employee demand. We have a framework of shift shells, and we focus now on the 3rd step, on the shift assignment, and I will show you Gurobi's power in this use case. First view, I hope it's large enough, is the month planner. This UI gives a great overview to our customers about, in the header, the forecasted revenues and forecasted employee demands. And here on the bottom, we see the shift shells. They are grouped by so-called stations. A station in a restaurant refers to the role of the employee he takes. So, for example, we have the service station, we have the bar station, and the kitchen station, and so on. And here we have these AI-generated shift shells for the month of November, and until 31st of October, we have a fully staffed schedule. So this is the final result we want to achieve for October as well. We also see additional information. In this case, we are in a restaurant in Karlsruhe in Germany, and therefore we see here a public holiday which is marked, which is also very important for planning, obviously, in restaurants, because they have a high impact on the expected number of guests. And yeah, let's dive into it. I hope this screen recording works. Yeah, perfect. As you can see, this whole UI is designed for non-technical users. We can easily expand or collapse the stations so that we can really display the information the user is interested in at this specific moment. We see all the important KPIs all the time. And in our example here, as you can see, we have many shift shells to be assigned. To be precise, it's 523 shift shells here for a month. That's just a medium-sized or medium to large-sized restaurant, but there are even larger restaurants. So you can imagine if you would do this all manually, it would take you, of course, a lot of time. And yeah, let's have a look at another view. This is the day planner. If we want to get a more detailed understanding of a specific day, we can go to, we can click on a specific day, in this case the 4th of November, and we see again all the shift shells, but we now see their distribution during the day. And we can nicely see here these two peak times. We have the highest forecasted employee demand during lunchtime and during dinner, and in between it's a bit less. And you can also see here the fit of the shift shells. So the shift shells are these separate shifts, but the tiny boxes represent the forecasted perfect allocation. So we don't have a perfect fit because there are some boxes which are not covered by shift shells. And this is, of course, caused by our constraints we have to look at, like the break law, like the staff structure and the minimum shift length, and so on. We can nicely see the differences between the different stations here as well. In the service station, you see that there are kind of a large number of shift shells, but they are shorter, about 4 to 5 hours. In contrast to the kitchen, where we have longer shifts but fewer. And the reason for that is that in this restaurant, and this applies to many restaurants, in the service we have many part-time employees or students working there, which are happy to have a shorter shift. In the kitchen, in contrast, we have many full-time employees who want to work 8 hours a day to earn their money. And also in the day planner, we really focused on easy interaction for the user, because it's important to know that in restaurants we have many non-technical users, so we have to design a UI which is easily understandable. In this case, we can manually adjust these shift proposals just by dragging and dropping. We can adjust start and end time of the shift shells, or we can delete a shift and replace it by 2 shorter shifts. And this is something very important. In that case, we directly assign an employee, so we don't have a shift shell here, we have a manual shift here. And this is a very important point. At each step of our Nesto process, who delivers automated solutions, we still have the opportunity to manually adjust things, because our customers have a lot of domain knowledge and they have a lot of expertise. They might also know about special circumstances the AI isn't aware of. So we need to give them the possibility to adjust things if they know that the automated solution is maybe not perfect for whatever reason. Okay, coming back to the month planner. You can imagine if we would have to assign all of these shifts in the day planner, clicking through day by day, it would still take hours, even though shift shells are available. So we can also assign these shifts or assign employees to these shifts here in the month plan. By just clicking on a shift shell, a list of employees is opened, and we see which of these employees are available, so they are green, or which are red. In this case, Joey was red because he's already working during the same time. And we just click on an employee and it is assigned. Or we can do it the other way around, just click on an employee. Then we see for Emily here in which shift shells she could work. And then we just click on the shift shell and she's assigned. This is also one possibility of manually assigning shifts, manually assigning employees to shifts. But of course, this is still a manual process. This is not why we're here. We want to see what Gurobi does in our use case. And yeah, Gurobi is hidden in our automatic planning assistant, which does this whole shift assignment automatically. In the first step, we select the period of time we want to plan. Then we are asked if we want to keep existing assignments. In our example, we already have 4 staffed shifts. We leave them like they are because we want to really use this expert knowledge of our users. We give them the possibility to set some shifts, and we just use mathematical optimization to plan the rest around it. And it usually takes about 40 seconds. In our example here, it's 30 seconds. And the whole month, remember, it's more than 500 shift shells. Nearly the whole month has employees after that. So now the process has finished. And you can see the result here. In this example, 98% of all the shifts, or for 98% of the shifts, we found an employee to work on them. Only 8 shifts are still unoccupied. This might have several reasons, and I will show you the reason in our example here. But just let's scroll through the example again. We just expand all the stations and scroll through it. And there was no cutting there. This is the real speed. It's about, as I said, half a minute to assign all these employees to the shifts. And here we see some shift shells which have not been assigned yet. But we have the possibility to take care of it manually. We can see here all of the employees are not available. I will tell you the reason later. So there is no easy way to find a new employee, even for a restaurant manager, even for a human. But therefore, we have this possibility to advertise shifts. We can either do it shift by clicking on a shift, or do it for a whole period of time. In our case, we just do it for the whole month of November. And advertising shifts means we inform all the employees that could possibly work on that shift because of their shift level and they have no parallel shift and so on, via their employee app on the phone, that there is an open shift, and we ask them if they could work on that shift for once, because usually the reason why these shifts were left blank is that they last until 2 o'clock, and that's of course a constructed demo scenario. We have in our case only employees which are contractually available until 1 o'clock in the night, and so via advertising these shifts we can move some, or we can benefit from the initiative of the employees, that they can say, okay, for once I can work longer than usually, and they can just apply for the shifts in the end. And so we have now a fully planned month which combines the automated solution based on mathematical optimization and the speed of Gurobi, which also contains the expert knowledge of the manager who did some stuff before, some manual assignments for whatever reason they had to be fixed in advance, and we have the initiative of the employees. This does not only lead to better results, but also to higher acceptance. If everyone is somehow involved in the planning process, the plan is more likely to really be implemented in practice. This is a very important thing we learned about our customers. Coming back to our graph with the perfect allocation and the optimal solution. Again, remember, the manual planning led to many times with understaffing and overstaffing. And the automated planning kind of leads to results that look like that. It still not perfectly fits the perfect allocation because you all know we can't perfectly forecast the future. We have some legal constraints and so on, but we are much closer to the perfect allocation than a manual planner can be. And thus we increase profitability of our customers' restaurants. To wrap it up, we combine several techniques to achieve this decision intelligence here. We have the machine learning algorithms to reduce the uncertainty about the future and to improve the shift shells. We have mathematical optimization to really create action recommendations, so decisions. And we have Gurobi that delivers us a solution in a very short time, which saves a lot of time for our customers and which enables them to play around with different configurations as well. And last but not least, we have a UI which is understandable for non-technical users to really solve their problem. And here are several of our customers in Germany. It really works in practice. We started expanding into 3 other countries, and 4 more countries are to follow. We did a case study there. I think I nearly ran out of time, so I will do a bit quicker. We did a case study there where we compared a group using restaurants, using Nesto, and a group of restaurants which don't use Nesto, and we found that Nesto is able to reduce misallocations, so over and understaffing, by 47%, which directly translates to higher revenues, 5%, and productivity, also 5%. Productivity in this case means revenue divided by employee hours. So it really works in practice, and this shows the high potential of decision intelligence in a sector where not everyone is probably aware of that there's so much to improve in the end, because it's not an industry context, it's not a fintech tech context, it's gastronomy. It sounds simple, but it isn't. And yeah, as you can see, Joe smiles now because he doesn't have to worry about so many things. He has a good demand forecast. He doesn't have to worry about legal restrictions and the employee preferences that much anymore. And he saves a lot of time to do the things he really wants to focus on his guests, on his employees, or maybe just get home in time and see his family, because he's supported, truly supported by this decision intelligence tool. But Joe's not the only one who's happy. As we saw, we can increase profits, so the CEO obviously also gets happy. And the employees are also happier because their preferences are respected. There's less understaffing during peak time, so there's less stress in the daily business. And this also translates to happier guests, because if the employees are happier, they kind of transmit their mood to the guests. The guests don't have to wait that much that long anymore, and yeah, thus this automated solution can improve many different aspects of this whole labor scheduling. And this brings us to the final slide. I thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed learning about our use case in a gastronomy context. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them or contact me or my colleague Konstantin later. Thank you.
Hi, Dave Buxton from Decision Lab. Impressive talk, really nice, nicely articulated, and a really good product. Why stop at restaurants though? I mean, I would love to see this in the UK health services, where I think we have an incredibly bad, tricky staffing problem.
Yeah.
Restaurant, as much as I'd love you to improve my local pub in terms of the amount of time I wait at the bar, I think this has got huge societal impact, and it's an impressive toolkit in the way that you've demoed today.
Yeah, we love to see it there. We will love to see it there too. So it's just, we had to start somewhere. We're still a young company, so this was the first use case to implement our solution to. We also started using the tool at hotels and in retail as well. So I think nearly every service sector is could kind of be targeted by us. Of course, there are some restaurant-specific KPIs we feature or other stuff, because we have a lot of knowledge incorporate it into our product, which comes directly from our customers. But yeah, it's not limited to the restaurant context. We try to expand it to other sectors as well. Yeah.
I look forward to it arriving in the UK. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Kilian.
Thank you, Kostya.
Good. All right. Time is moving.
We can do it later.